right, welcome in. Hey, good morning. Happy Thursday. We're almost to Friday, and thank you guys for tuning in earlier. We had a scheduling issue. We usually like to do this at 3 p.m. Eastern time. It's on me. I apologize. Hand up. My fault, but we got a lot planned for you guys today. Let's do the rundown for just a quick moment. Look, a lot of emotions are going off of the Orioles' recent defeats, recent struggles, but they still are in a good spot. 10 games to go. The wild card race, specifically in the American League is heating up. We're going to dive all into that and actually react to a couple things then. A former big league closer that talked about what it's like to be in a locker room with expectations. And on another note for a closer, the Orioles moved on from Craig Kimbrel yesterday. Give you our thoughts on that as well. Then we're going to shift over to football, and joining us at the top of the hour is going to be Nick Moore, long snapper for the Baltimore Ravens, talking a little bit about this upcoming week. Big game for Baltimore, to say the least, for the Ravens. And then, week 3 is here. A lot to preview as we continue on into the weekend. But any questions, as always, chat, you know what to do. Ask away, and we will get to how you are feeling. And besides that, I'm still running on E right now. Zach just finished the 105.7 Big Bag Morning Show. Getting my energy going, but not used to the early mornings. And as you guys can guess, skeleton crew today, but Zach Bollinger is right behind doing all the production.
Back like we never left, because I guess we haven't. But sometimes I like the morning shows. It's a little, it gets you up, gets you going. Talk some ball in the morning. I mean, you've been talking ball since like 6 a.m., so I guess this is a little different for you. This is kind of like lunchtime at this point. But
yeah, you know what? But I guess I'm still in the fasting period right now. I haven't eaten anything yet, for better or for worse. I'm hungry. You know who didn't skip a meal, though? Ollie. Ollie's studio pup. Where we can get to the studio pup. There he is, hanging out, having a good time.
On the gridiron golf.
On the gridiron golf, taking it to the gridiron. We'll get there soon. Should we just kind of dive in, Zach, to the Orioles, right? That's the big conversation. And I know I see about me getting a little bit fiery last night after went on Kevin and Zach Reacts. If you guys aren't subscribed to that, it's one of the channels of the Ryan Ripken Media. After every Orioles game, Zach and Kevin go live to talk about the Orioles, do it for the Ravens. But I appreciate it. I guess you can consider I had a fiery speech last night. Glad it took you off the ledge. Vibes are getting back for the Birds. Hopefully we get back today and keep this number 4 spot, meaning the wild card. And look, it's been a rough stretch for Baltimore, right? It's been a tough go, and I get it. Tough 2.5, 3 months. The Orioles' record has not been good, at least for the expectations of the team. Fair to say, Zach?
I would say very fair to say.
And they've had a lot of injuries, and I thought that they were still over-exceeding expectations with the injuries. But last night, I was getting a little bit floored. Maybe I'm starting to get a little ticked off with it too. They're playing bad ball right now, but the questions or thoughts I was getting was, you know what, this team's an embarrassment, and we should just miss the playoffs. First off, why? Why would you want your team to miss the playoffs, even with struggles? I can't remember one time where I can sit there and go, you know what, we're having a rough year. When the Ravens lost Lamar Jackson, and then you knew that Tyler Huntley was going to be the quarterback in the playoffs, and then you had to go play Cincy. Well, let's just call it a season. Hell no, you almost beat the Bengals that reach over, which was a tough moment. But you don't know what's going to happen in sports. Obviously, when you're missing some of your best guys, but baseball specifically is the one postseason where you got to throw all the shit out the window. Mm-hmm. You have to. Arizona Diamondbacks just reached their win total yesterday of all of 2023. They had 84 wins. They went to the World Series. Texas, over 101 game span, because I got told that the Orioles over a 98 game span were struggling. Texas was 50-51 over their last 101 games.
Yeah.
Won the World Series. Look, I'm not saying the Orioles are going to win the World Series. I'm not saying they're going to make this run. They could fall flat on their face in the postseason. But you got to get in because there is a chance something else can happen. We'll talk about the injuries. Maybe we started off then with with what our conversation we had earlier, Zach, with Jonathan Papelbon, closer for the Red Sox and Nationals. But you remember this was a good memory for you, Zach, the Andino game.
Oh, remember it very, very well.
Good time, right?
Very good time. And we know Jonathan also remembers it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, to say the least. And Jonathan, though, we talked to him about what it's like because for that year, if you guys remember, the Red Sox had a massive lead to make the playoffs, fell off, and then they lose that finale in Baltimore, and Dino walks it off, and then Evan Longoria hits the home run seconds after, minutes after, and it's one of the coolest endings to a regular season that will be in history of the game. So let's listen to Jonathan Papelbon here because we talked a little bit about what it's like for teams with expectations and specifically going through that time with Boston.
Part of where expectations are high, things weren't going right at the times when you needed it to. Could you sense that when you were in the locker room at the time, or was it something that it just shit hit the fan and it happens? Because I try to tell people there's that fan perspective when you're out there going, well, this team looks like garbage. They're terrible. Like, you guys are never giving in. And you certainly can never show that you have doubt. Because once that happens, then you're already screwed. But could you just talk about dealing with those expectations as it gets into like the end of a playoff hunt?
Yeah. So, the expectations for us that year, we woke up on a September morning and it was bright and sunny. By the end of September, it was dark, gloomy clouds, So, but there's certain places where you just have to deal with it more, like Boston, New York, and LA, and Chicago. But I mean, look, it's something you sign up for. When you sign with certain teams, you're expected to be in the playoffs, and some win it all. So for me, I grew up in that type of organization where we were expected to win, and so when you are and you start plateauing downhill. Man, it's not a good feeling. And you feel it in the clubhouse. Everybody, the pressure only gets bigger. And then, like, for us, it's just like a hot air balloon at the end of the season. Bam, explodes. But I always loved that and cherished that. And it made me better to, nobody expected more than I did out of myself. So I always enjoyed being on teams with high expectations.
But it just goes to show teams got to learn how to handle pressures better. So I appreciate that context with it.
So the big points I took away from Jonathan right there, teams with expectations, and he was talking about specifically the bigger cities, New York and Boston, because why? They're expected to be contending almost every year. That's just, how they've spent money and how that's been that organizational type of culture. Baltimore hasn't had that, but for the first time in probably, honestly, this is the most expectations that this Baltimore Orioles team has had in, I'd like to probably go back to the 96, 97 time for Baltimore. Even with the run with Buck Showalter for the Orioles in the 2010s, it was not the same type of expectation for a team coming off 101 wins where they thought that they would be better. And I think that people, Zach, throw the thought around that winning 100 games is easy. It's so damn hard to do that. And the Orioles have the talent, but obviously they had some injuries, right, Zach? There was a lot of key injuries here that happened, and a lot of teams would have fallen flat on their face. Another thing that he mentioned is you can sense it in the clubhouse. Mm-hmm. You can feel it, and you're trying to battle through it. But it's hard, and last night I think was a perfect example in the game, Zach. When it rains, it pours. You don't execute in situations. Then you start making blunders. James McCann not having his foot on home plate was tough.
Yeah.
A veteran, and it happens. He lost feeling of where home plate was, and he felt he had it on the whole time. Doesn't. Sometimes you can say, the cleat has a lot of mud or dirt, and that can go into your perception being off, but it shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
And it happened. Heston Kjerstad gets drilled or gets hit in the foot. Everyone thinks that's a good thing. It is to get on base. But the problem was if Heston gets out of the way or just moves a hair, that ball's to the backstop, the Orioles score a run. So when you don't execute, the little things don't go your way. And a lot of things haven't gone for Baltimore's way here.
Yeah, I mean, you just talked about winning 100 games, expectations coming off a 101 win season, and to be better than that. Unless the Phillies win 9 of their next last 10, unless the Dodgers win all of their last 10, not a single team in baseball is going to finish this year with 100 wins. Not a single team. It is hard to win 100 games. It's one of the hardest things to do in sports. People act like winning 100 games in baseball is like winning 12 games in football, that everyone should do, that's the standard of a good team. 90 wins is tough in baseball, let alone 100.
Yeah, the team that won the World Series last year had 90 wins. Texas. Yeah. Team that went to the World Series
and there were like 4 teams won 100 games last year, and then a team that won 90 games wins it all.
And the team that had 84 wins knocked off the best team, Dodgers, and the Phillies back-to-back. That 84-win Diamondback team went into Philadelphia and won games 6 and 7 in the postseason. The Texas Rangers that were 1 game over 500 on the road the entire regular season limped into the playoffs, won 11 straight, and made baseball history in the postseason. So you get where I'm going with this. It's ugly, and I get it. It's frustrating for fans when you see your team you care about so much it feels like a mistake after mistake, or you're not fixing it. And I hear a lot of comments here, and I'll get into a few of it doesn't seem like that they're making adjustments, Ryan. It doesn't seem like they're actually going out there and handling the expectations well. I told people no one cares about your injuries in professional sports. Oh, you're injured? Yeah, well, guess what? You got to step up. That's why when I say, hey, the O's are fine, people will take it in different ways. My way of taking it, and that's cool. Like I understand. That's why I'm saying everyone has the right to be frustrated, be mad. But I say what I say because if you give in, you cast doubt, you might as well call it a season if that's your thought process. If you're going to say, oh, woe is me, it's frustrating, we're not doing well, then yeah, you should pack it up. You can be frustrated, but you got to keep working. The Orioles are trying to work through it. And this is a lot of expectations for a team that lost all-star Jordan Westberg. Should have been an all-star Kyle Bradish. Whatever we want. All-star Felix Bautista. John Means, Tyler Wells, Danny Coulombe could have been an all-star. Ryan Mountcastle, who was in the voting to be an all-star.
How about
where else we want to go with this?
We want to go not even injury. How about your closer who was having an all-star first half? Something happens, whether it's injury, something. Craig Kimbrel which we'll get into in a second, all of a sudden goes from all-star caliber to he can't go a single outing without giving up 2-3 runs. So that completely now feel like you're playing a man down in the bullpen.
Yeah, and we'll get into Craig Kimbrel here in a moment. But yeah, then that doesn't work out the way that you had hoped, especially after the 3 months you saw to start the season.
Yeah, he gave hope. He showed what he could do.
He gave hope. But then this thought here and ideology, and I think Johnny made a comment about, I'm almost to the point I'd rather not see this team in the playoffs. They don't deserve it. If they miss the playoffs because they have a historic choke down the stretch, they got 10 games left. They have a 4-game lead for a postseason berth. If they miss out because of this slump, they absolutely don't deserve to be in the playoffs. But just because they've struggled for 2 months doesn't dismiss what they did for the other 3.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest point. It's like if you get in, you see what happens. If they get beaten up and they get knocked out in the first round, all right, that's it. But what if there's a chance that you get Jordan Westberg back, you get Ramon Arias back, Grayson Rodriguez comes in, and you have a chance to go Corbin Burns, Zach Eflin, Grayson Rodriguez, or maybe Dean or Suarez, whatever you want to do, and you can line up your rotation with a lineup that gets one of your heart and soul guys. I think Westberg was that guy. Mm-hmm. You get him back. You get your best reliever, Danny Coulombe, back. And I know they said he got pulled. And by the way, he got pulled. That was a normal thing.
Yes, that was normal.
So I want to point that out. Do we want to talk real quickly about how other teams are playing down the stretch? People are focused on Baltimore.
Yeah.
Zach, you want to know what the Twins record is over the last 25 games?
What is it, Ryan?
9-16. They are now a half game ahead of the Detroit Tigers, who are the best team in baseball since mid-August. Who else here? The Kansas City Royals that the Orioles are trying to fend off. They cut the lead to 1 or tied with Cleveland when they were playing the Guardians. They're now 6 back. They just got swept by the Tigers. Right? We go through these teams. Not a lot of teams are playing great baseball right now, besides the Detroit Tigers in the American League. That's really the one team. The one team. Guardians have won 7 of their last 10. So you got to see where I'm going with this. And we're saying with coaching, I saw a comment here. They're pros. They have to step up their coaching. Steven, I get it. Are there things that I agree that have happened all the time? Like, I didn't like Slater pinch hitting for Jackson last night, especially when he was putting together some good at-bats. I liked Ryan O'Hearn getting at-bats because he's a guy, regardless of matchup, that I trust. I would love in situations when you're struggling to try to do more bunting and hidden runs. I would like that, but that style of play isn't the same. But the point, I guess, what I'm trying to make is coaching can only get you to so far. And then when you're in the postseason, yeah, you're going to count on your manager. Bruce Bochy's a great manager. Zach, how would you rank him?
I mean, top of the top. We saw it last year. I mean, this is a multi-time World Series winning manager. If you want to talk about a guy who's been there, done that, knows how to win in the big situation, it's him. And even, like you're saying, even they're struggling. Real fast, over the last 10 games, only 3 teams in the American League are playing above 500.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Only 3 teams in the American League over their last 10 games have an above 500 record. The entire American League West is at 500 or worse. It is only the Tigers, the Guardians, and the Yankees who have above 500, who have more than 5 wins over their last 10 games. Baseball, baby.
Baseball. And look, I sit here and I understand the frustrations. I do. And I'll tell you what, watching it fundamentally of the team making mistakes, yeah, it makes you want to pull your hair out. Like, how does that happen? Oh, we have opportunities. But if you think you're frustrated, and that was the other thing Pap said. He goes, competitors. He goes, no one was more pissed off and expected more from themselves than he did. And there's a lot of guys in that locker room that have the exact same mentality, but they have to find a way. They got to grind. That's the only choice. And if they miss the playoffs, so be it. But if they get in, and they should get in, if they get in, all bets are off.
Mm-hmm.
All bets are off. You could have this probability. Oh, the Orioles got swept. Well, guess what? They got swept last year. They're the best team in the American League. Okay. Yeah. That's the worst thing that could happen. Oh, maybe they have a competitive series and lose. Or maybe, just maybe, Corbin Burns goes out and throws a gem. You win game 1.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Zach Eflin go out and throw a gem. You win and you get to the next round. Now you're building confidence for a team that had to wait for you to get to that round. Look, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but getting in is the biggest part. And we have another guest that you haven't heard or interview from in so far, but he would attest to just how hard it is to make the baseball postseason. So I just want to reiterate that. But let's talk about then on this case, because the other part that keeps getting brought up, Zach, is, how do the Orioles save their season? Well, can it be saved? And like we just talked about, yes, it can. But you know how it can really be helped is if those guys from injury come back. So why don't we do a little update here, Zach? The Orioles are hoping to get some big players back. Jordan Westberg, Ramon Arias, Ryan Mountcastle, Danny Coulombe, to name the one specifically, Grayson Rodriguez. That's 5 to be exact. So your thoughts on, you help me give this update on where the Orioles are at.
Yeah, so pretty much, as we know, the first kind of domino has fallen in Jacob Webb returning to the team over this weekend. He pitched on Sunday and then again last night. Danny Coulombe pitched the 2/3 of an inning last night in Norfolk, which sent Twitter into a panic when Rock Kabako tweeted out Danny Coulombe pulled after 2/3 of an inning, not telling everyone that was planned. So he's slowly getting back. You hope to see him in the next week or so. Biggest update I'd say is Ramon Arias and Jordan Westberg are joining Norfolk today. It's just another step closer. These guys, hopefully, yes, you only have 10 games left, but if you're able to get just both of those guys back, and then Ryan Mountcastle is in Sarasota, I believe, still. Not sure the update of when he's going to go to Norfolk. And then we really don't have much on Grayson Rodriguez other than it's going well, but the time is still against them.
Yeah, and I think that, honestly, the starting pitching for the Orioles, relatively speaking, has been very solid, right? So it's really about, for me, getting those bats back would be monumental. Getting that defensive component. Ramon could be limited with certain issues. So as far as ankles, and our next guest, who's played both baseball and football, can allude to that in a minute. But ankles, it's going to hurt your mobility. So I don't know how Ramon's going to feel defensively. But Jordan Westberg, his wrist was bothering him. That's the one thing, hand. You worry about the dish. How's he going to see the ball? But him fielding, all it should be good there. He's got great range, great defensive player in my mind, can make a lot of things happen. And Ryan Mountcastle is your best first baseman. And just saw that Josiah, you were saying that Melanie said in the postgame that Mounty's joining Norfolk today as well. So
yeah, it looks like last night they tweeted out, Jake Rill did, that Mountcastle is getting close to joining them, or so he's about to in the next day or two. So if maybe there's a update there that he is officially joining them. But yeah, either today or he will be in the next day or so.
Well, hum now.
And I think that's the biggest one with Mounty I've talked about is defensively. How many times has Mountcastle saved this team defensively by making an insane pick, by making some wild play at first? I mean, that impacts the whole infield. You turn Gunner missteps, puts a ball in the dirt. Mayo, Arias, Westberg, Holiday. Someone makes a bad throw, and instead of an error, Mounty saves it. That changes an inning. We talk about how bad baseball plays defensively, that's what you can control, and that can derail an inning for you. Great defensive plays. How many times have we seen Cedric Mullins change the course of a game with a defensive play?
Yeah, people are just throwing aside the defense. You just got to pitch and hit. Well, if you're going to just pitch and hit, you better be dominant at one of those, if not both. It's going back to, you have to go to 2017 for the last team to win a World Series that wasn't in the top 10 defensively, and it was the Cubs. And the Cubs, I believe, had the best pitching staff, pitching ERA in all of baseball. So, and the other case, then the Astros, when they won, I was looking back, I might have the years off. The Astros, when they won, and everyone was looking at that World Series with the Dodgers, they were the number one offensive team in baseball. So you either got to be so dominant in so many facets, but defense has to be it. Diamondbacks and Rangers were the top two teams last year in fielding. They're both in the World Series. Can't give teams extra opportunities, and we've seen that come back and really bite Baltimore when they don't have their main guys. Just the reality of it. We'll talk more Orioles here and Craig Kimbrel in a moment, but we got to take some time when we get our guy on because he's got to get ready for week 3 of the NFL season. The Ravens and the Cowboys are playing this Sunday, 4:25, I believe, and that should be the Tom Brady game. Tom Brady broadcasting.
Yeah. We got Brady talk calling.
We got some Brady doing the call, but you know what we have here? We got our friend of the show. One time he'll make it into the studio, probably won't.
One time.
He's a big Florida Gator fan, and he's going to be a Pro Bowler here in 2024. Let's bring on our friend Nick Moore. Nick.
Don't insult me ever again by calling me a Florida Gator fan.
You're not doing the chomp? Not doing the chomp here?
I don't think I ever will do the chomp, dude.
Oh, shit.
Dogs all the way, baby.
Yeah, you're a good kid, man. Hey, Nick, how we feeling? Happy Thursday, man. We got, 3 or 4 days till
yeah.
You going to Dallas Saturday?
Yeah, we'll fly out Saturday afternoon. And anytime we travel, I want to say less than 3 times. So anytime we travel 3 time zones or more, we'll leave a day earlier than normal. But whenever we travel 1 or 2 time zones, we'll leave the normal day.
So the only time you're traveling 3 times, well, yes, it does. But just so I understand, the only time you travel 3 time zones is to
London or LA.
or to Brazil?
Yeah, no, Brazil's same time.
Yeah,
zone.
Brazil was same time
Oh,
zone,
sorry.
Same
No,
time
which
zone.
threw everyone off.
sorry.
Yeah.
London, Germany. Germany was the other one.
Germany,
But LA,
Mexico.
LA's only 2 time zones off. I
No,
guess,
3.
is it?
LA, Seattle, San Francisco, Arizona. Sometimes Arizona's that weird one where they're
Yeah,
2
Arizona
hours and then 3
sometimes.
hours. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, Arizona's that weird state where they don't fall back.
Yeah, they just like don't
Yeah, they
accept.
just keep it. Yeah, they're just like, nah, we're the same. So yeah,
Which,
but
I mean, like, kind of a boss move to be like, we're not doing that.
And we're not condoning. We're not shaping ourselves to all this.
Everyone's
voodoo.
changing the time. They're like, not us.
yeah. Well, we're trying to do it. The government's they've been trying to get it passed for a couple of years now. I don't know what the holdup is, but they're trying to get rid of it altogether.
I'll tell you what, nothing just brings me down more than going outside after being inside and it's pitch black at 4.
Yeah, when
or
it's
3:45.
worst thing in the world.
It's the worst. We'll work like later in the season. We'll practice on Wednesday, Thursday till like 3:30, and then we'll sauna, shower, do whatever, and you're walking out of the building at 4:15, and it's freaking dark. And you left in the morning at 7, and it was dark. And it's like, dude, my whole entire day is gone. You go home, and all you want to do is get in bed.
Yeah, hate it. Hate it,
tough.
Nick. Hate it,
Tough
Nick.
time. Tough time of year.
Tough time of year, but it's a fun time of year for this right now. Hey, Orioles in the hunt. You heard us talking about that. Football, you guys are trying to bounce back and get in the win column. And please, I hope you do, because if not, I guess people don't get as mad about the Ravens, Zach. They get more mad at me about the Orioles because, the O's are fine. I will say the Ravens are fine. But, Nick, I'll ask you, are the Ravens fine?
Oh, of course we're fine, dude. We've been playing some good football. We just got to put 2 halves together, and I think we're going to do that this weekend. It's going to be a tough game in a really tough environment down in Dallas. They're coming off a pretty tough loss for them. I know I keep using tough loss, but pretty bad loss over the weekend to New Orleans. So, you've seen guys like Michael Parsons and others say that this is a must-win game, and you don't want to panic early in the season. I don't think that's the right way to approach it. We're playing good football, and I think we just continue to do that and touch up on a couple things and finish and play a full 60 minutes. I think we can put together something nice this weekend.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think we'd all love that and appreciate it. And to give context to it, I think the Ravens offensively, I think they're ranked first in total offense, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So there are certain things, but it was certain mistakes, not being able to close out. We can go to each game and every team can have it. But you're right. I mean, it's a good squad. You guys got a lot of things there. Now it's just about going to Dallas, take care of business, and get right back on the track you hope to be on as we move forward. Zach and I were talking about this. Have you ever played at that stadium in Dallas?
I have not. This will be the first time I've ever been to Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Fort Worth or wherever the stadium is in. But yeah, excited to go down there. I know they're historically unbelievable football games, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, so Georgia never won.
No, because we always did the Jerry World is the Big 12 championship in the Cotton Bowl, and the SEC rarely gets in the Cotton Bowl unless it's a playoff game, just because of how for us in the SEC, if you don't make the playoffs, you go to the Sugar Bowl. So that's in New Orleans. So I did that. And then when we made the playoffs, it was the Rose Bowl, and then the championship was in Atlanta. So no games in Dallas.
Rose Bowl had to be electric, though.
Yeah, man, it was that historic game where we beat Oklahoma in double overtime. Tony Michelle around the left edge for a touchdown after we blocked the field goal. Yeah, that was a once in a lifetime environment and game. So I was very happy to be a part of it. Didn't get to play any. I got to watch it from the sidelines.
You had a good fun run.
So really quick, it was third down. So that year I was a backup long snapper. My buddy Trent Fricks, he was a starting long snapper, and I played early in the season because he was hurt. But by the Rose Bowl, he was back and had been playing for a while. But we had this fake drawn up because in college, you can't report as eligible with your number. So you're only eligible based on your jersey number. Yeah. Whereas in the NFL, 79 can be like, he can say, I'm eligible receiver. You see it all the time with the big linemen or tackles or whatever, D tackles that going out for a pass. But in college, you can't do that. So my buddy was number 69 and I was number 43. Exactly. And we had a snapper eligible pass and as a fake. And we're in the Rose Bowl. It's third down. They call the play. Like, they're like, all right, we're running. It was called Tiger. And so Kirby comes running down. He's like, all right, Tiger, next play. So I'm in the pit. I'm ready to go. And then that was when Sony Michel fumbled and the Oklahoma picked up, ran it for a touchdown. And we did not. We ran it in the national championship, and Alabama sniffed that thing out. I remember Quinnen Williams put his big old paw just right in the middle of my chest, and I started going out for a route. And needless to say, it didn't work.
So
yeah.
You've gone now against Quinn Williams, you've gone against Christian Wilkins. Is still Christian Wilkins the one that's whooped your ass more?
In a game, yes. I'll say this. We had a guy here, 2022, Stephen Means. I don't know if you guys remember that name.
Mhm.
Started his career with us and then played with the Falcons for a while. And then he tore his Achilles in week 2 of 2022 against the Dolphins. But that guy is the best pass punt rusher I've ever seen in my life. So, but yes, in the game,
The more you know.
Yeah,
More
exactly.
you know.
Nick, I have a long snapper question that came to me.
Okay, what you got?
Does like the turf and like the environment, like are there like different, like not strategies, but does it change at all depending on if you're snapping on natural grass or like do some like because I know like Jerry's World is super weird and like they have that weird grass. So like does that change anything? Like even like for Tucker or Jordan Holding, like is there a different like you have to be aware of it, or is it just it's the same thing over and over?
For me, what it's going to do, like when you play an inside on an artificial surface, the one thing for sure is that the lines are exactly as far apart as they need to be. Sometimes, we play in some places, the lines are not necessarily perfectly straight or they're not the right spot all the time.
Love the NFL.
Yeah, and or like in Chicago, the grass gets so beat up, like they're in the middle. So then the lines just disappear, right? So then you're like, you're literally just trying to figure out where you're at on the field. The turf eliminates all that, obviously, and then playing inside eliminates, the weather, the stuff that really makes my job difficult.
Mm-hmm.
As far as Jordan Holding, I don't think anything changes there. And it's probably easier on the turf because you can manipulate the ground without altering the field. So like he can like twist the ground or whatever if he needs like a visual cue marker for where to put the ball. But Justin, I don't know. I feel like it does change it. Maybe like some turfs they're really springy, so they don't absorb as much. So you're really springy off the top. And then other turfs you get where your foot kind of sinks into the turf and you're not as springy. So he'll say sometimes like he gets stuck in the ground. And that just because like some turfs, when he plants when he puts his plant foot in the ground, it'll like sink too far into the turf.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really explode through. He's played in Dallas before, so he knows how this stadium is, but I'm not 100% sure about their surface because, quite frankly, they haven't been on my radar my whole career till now. So till this year. So I'm excited to see what it is, what it is like down there.
Have you ever snapped on a baseball field, one of those baseball/football fields? I'm thinking like old Miami, because I remember that
Or
used
Oakland
to be.
too.
Yeah, I was going to say. Well, I just remember watching games and like they would talk about Jankowski, where there were certain parts of the field that they would have to try to avoid because it was just weird snapping and holding like on the edge of the infield.
Yeah,
Like,
could you like imagine
Mhm.
like if your plant foot is half on the grass, half on the dirt. One way it could be like your toes half on the dirt, or the next time it could be your heels half on the dirt. So when the surfaces are different like that, and you have that lip, just like you get a ground ball, like and it hits the lip perfectly, you're going to get a little hop or whatever. And then after playing a football game, like I've never played in Oakland. Oakland wasn't a thing when I got into the league. But I would imagine big 300-pound dudes would butcher that area, the dirt and grass area where they kind of connected. So it would be inconsistent all the way around there, and that'd make it really tough. And then also, if you were kicking all the way on the dirt, I mean, I would imagine that's slippery and very hard to get your plant foot stable in the ground.
Yeah, it doesn't sound fun. Like
not at all.
Also, as much as kickers are criticized, they're like, being critical situations, you got to hit everything. Just like all of a sudden now, Justin Tucker's had, missed a couple field goals, and, he's now probably one of the worst kickers in the NFL. Nick, as you.
Yeah.
For people that missed it, Nick went on a fiery rant to remind people that Justin Tucker is still the best kicker in the NFL. You know what I was surprised about, Nick, though? I think that this was Zach, you can fact check this. I think that for NFL kicks for 50-plus yarders, only one kicker's missed from 50-plus this year, Nick.
There's only been 2 misses from 50-plus this year.
It's wild, but I don't. That's no knock. We talked about it. It's not us no knocking to Justin. We know he's gonna get on track.
I thought there's another guy. It was week 1 was 21 of 23, so somebody else missed in week 1 from beyond 50.
He did.
Somebody else did. Yeah, because
I guess the point
week
being,
1 was. Anyways,
yeah. Point being, time out.
I don't like your point. I get it.
No, whoa. I just said that Justin's the best kicker in the world here. I was just trying to make the point of is that before it was so the outcomes for kickers was so erratic. And right now they're so dialed in. Like Fairbarn was just booting it through against the Bears from distance. Aubrey, who you guys are going to see this weekend, has been sensational since coming into the league. It was more so along the lines that kickers their reputation was that they're going to butcher some kicks. They've been locked in. Like the guys are locked in, and I don't, for whatever, it's awesome to see. Don't you ever think that I'm criticizing?
Guys have been playing well this year. I'll give you that. Guys have been playing really well. Probably historically better than they have in the past. So that's great to see from a specialist standpoint. But like I said on Monday, it's September. Weather's good.
Yeah.
Games are, not that games are not meaningful, but they're not, make this kick, we go to the playoffs, miss this kick, we go home. So it's still early. We're going to be Justin Tucker is Justin Tucker. So when the weather gets bad, the wind picks up, ground gets hard, days get cold, we'll be right there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Nick just always wants to just throw out when I'm like, Justin Tucker is the best kicker in the league. But that's crazy with the stab. Like, what are you saying? Like, you can see you start to sit up right there, get all pissed off. We love Tucker.
That's the Georgia in him. Georgia loves to think they're the underdog when they're like ranked number 1 by everyone.
Everyone's against us.
It's incredible though. That's why they kick ass, because they're convinced that they're like favored by like 45, and they're like, no one believed in us this game after they win by 60. They're like 45 was disrespectful. Yeah, it's impressive. I'll give it to you.
Nick was like that too. Especially, it's just that one Florida State game where you know what? Everyone counted us out. Everyone counted.
They did.
No,
Florida State. I don't think Florida State will ever recover from that.
Well, they certainly haven't.
They're still showing. They're still hungover from that loss.
They still, every time they close their eyes, they see the dogs.
Yeah, I feel like Mike Norvell has nightmares at night of Kirby Smart. Just that he flashes at the scoreboard. Just it's a tough day to be a fan of the Seminoles.
Yeah,
they're pretty terrible. So.
It certainly is, and I think it's a reminder things could be worse. And I think that's also why people have been stressing about with the Ravens, because they're just not familiar with the team being 0-2, right? It's because it's been a consistent organization. So how are vibes with this? You know what I love? A lot of guys talking about communication. You and I have talked about how important communication is, but I love the fact I like seeing Lamar Jackson out there more. I like him just talking.
Oh, yeah.
I love hearing him speak. I think that he's showing more of who he is. And it seems like, Nick, we talked about it like week by week, but it seems like he's fully embracing this more vocal role on a consistent basis.
Lamar is our leader, and I think he's doing a really good job of that right now. He gets all the criticism.
Yep.
And I think he's owning that. And I think where he's heading right now is, he's going to show everybody that he is the leader that he's supposed to be as a quarterback that everyone says he hasn't been, which is just total BS. And he's going to get us right back to where we need to go. And we trust no one more than number 8. So we're on board with whatever number 8's going for. We're right there with them. And same thing, I'll support 9 just as hard as I'll support number 8. So we're Lamar's our guy, and he's going to take us to where we need to go.
Damn right he is. And again, the quarterbacks get the glory, get the criticism, right?
Mm-hmm.
People that never get the glory, Nick, and I'll get you out of here, is the offensive line. No one ever gets glory on the offensive line unless things go wrong, right? Like that's the reality of it. You know, Ronnie, I'm happy for Ronnie Stanley. I think that it's good seeing him getting going again. How is a team, like, collectively, because that's been a talking point for people, how the offensive line's had its struggles. I mean, you lost some big guys like Zeitler. You and I have talked off air about just like the presence he had. It's hard to replicate and replace. You know, it seems like, though, and knowing you and knowing the team, the structure of trying to pick each other up, there's accountability in there, but you also have some growing pains. So that combination, I think, is what we're seeing. But I think you guys still got a lot of faith that you're going to figure that part out.
I think we're just what we're doing now is we're just gelling. I think we have two guards never played really before. Daniel had limited experience in his first couple of years.
Yep.
Voorhees, this is his first go round, and they kind of got thrown into the fire with Chris Jones and Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby, like 3 of the best defensive line pass rushers in all of football.
Yeah, and then you got another one.
Yeah, exactly. And we got Mike Parsons. Yeah, Mike. There's no easy game in this league, man. Every team has their guy that gets paid millions to put his hand in the dirt and rush the quarterback. And these teams scheme up the young guys until the young guys become proven guys. They're the ones that get all of the stunts and twists and picks and all that stuff. And I think they're doing a great job. I mean, you gotta give them a chance. Like, they have to be able to, like, make the mistakes and learn from them. And I think they've done exceptionally well considering who they've gone up against.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think, I think we're just getting comfortable. We're just getting familiar with each other. And we would have loved to win those games. We wanted to. We felt like we deserved to win both those games. We played well enough to win both of those games, and they didn't go our way.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said on the last time, like I think there's a lot that Ravens fans and us as a team have to be proud of and excited about moving forward with the way that we're trending in this season. And I think our guys are the right guys for the job.
I agree with that. I think that also a big part, that's why I wanted you to bring it up, it's growing pains, and growing pains meaning it's new for a lot of people. I mean, heck, a lot of people were on Kyle Hamilton when he started off his rookie year, right? You're playing in the NFL, and look at him now. And I'm not saying that all the offensive linemen are going to become Pro Bowlers by any means, or be like Tyler Linderbaum, come right out of college and be an impact guy right off the gate. It's going to take time, but it's a good point. You're gelling. You're trying to figure it out. Could there have been better moments? Absolutely. Has there been tough competition? You're damn right. So I'm excited for it. I know you guys have the culture to keep rallying and building. And it looks like you got the right juice to get to 1-2. What do you got, Zach?
Just before you head out, Nick, we do have real fast. Cube, appreciate it. 5 months. Says soon to be Pro Bowl long snapper Nick Moore. Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or 1 horse-sized duck? That's tough.
That is tough.
See, my initial instinct was to go with 100 duck-sized horses, but horses are abnormally strong for their size, and no one really knows what a horse-sized duck is going to do. I feel like that thing could just like rip me apart like a hippopotamus or something with his, put in his beak. I think I'm saying I think it would be able to rip you to shreds like hippo can.
Ducks are kind of
extremely dangerous. Yeah, that's why I'm like, if it's like one of those like monster horses that's just like built like a brick shit house, and that's the duck, like I don't think I want that. I think I'd rather take the the smaller horses and just punt them, just try to kick them out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Keep them away from my hands and just kick them.
I thought you were gonna try to even just like you can just snap them right through.
grab one horse and just snap them through the other 99.
Snap one horse. You can't really like see me get it here, Nick. But like if I was gonna get up here and try to, whoosh, just go right through.
Yeah.
It's good practice. They might be football size.
I feel like a duck-sized horse is almost like a snake. You just grab behind its head so it can't bite you, and then you can just throw it as far as you want.
All right,
it's a useless animal at that point.
I love this. This is what I'm going to tell my future kids, my future children. How do you get better? We're going to get you some duck-sized horses.
Yeah, and just heave them.
Yeah, let me tell you a story. Let me tell you a tale of how Nick Moore became a Pro Bowler in 2024.
If you see me in the street snapping duck-sized horses, you'll know I'm a Pro Bowler.
Hell yeah.
Ben McDonald had in his contract with the Orioles that he couldn't wrestle gators. Nick Moore's with the Ravens is going to be he has to stop long snapping duck-sized horses.
Yeah.
They're like, you can't do that.
Yeah, it's going to be in the contract. No shit, though.
That's hysterical.
Ben actually wrestles gators, and that'll be for a different time. I can share that with you. He's a crazy son of a bitch, but we love him. Big Ben McDonald's the man. Nick, you're a good kid. I'm proud of you.
Thanks, guys.
I'll bother you soon. But, yeah, hey, safe travels over there to a second time zone.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, boys.
Hair's looking great, Nick.
You're looking great, Nick.
Oh, thanks, man.
Awesome.
It's nice and gray, so yeah.
Oh,
it's how they know you've been working hard. It's how they know
exactly.
you've been working hard.
I've been putting in the time.
A little touch of gray for Nick Moore. All right, see you,
All
Nick.
right, boys. See you guys.
Appreciate you, Nick.
Nick Moore, beat it. That was Nick Moore, long snap for the Ravens. We love Nick.
He just brightens my day every time.
He does. He's a good kid. And I love that you see that mentality, the confidence. And when we talked earlier with Papelbon with the Orioles of just saying, hey, you got to have expectations for yourself and you got to, believe that you can go out there and be successful even when things aren't going right. Nick Moore with the group, it's that you can sense right there. There's not doubt that they have with this team. Now, obviously you win the game, you feel a lot better. You lose the game, there's some doubt that can creep in. But they're confident. I believe that they're better than Dallas. I think that they're a better team than the Cowboys. I think they have more weapons. I think that they're a more well-rounded team. But now you got to go out there and do it.
Yeah, I'll say it. I'll be the one to say it. Everyone's talking about the next 3 games for the Baltimore Ravens. You have the Cowboys, the Bills, and the Bengals. You said you think the Ravens are a better team than the Cowboys. I'll take it one step further. The Ravens are a better team than all 3 of these upcoming opponents. But like you said, I think what sucks the most about this 0-2 start is you truly feel like in your heart of hearts that you are 2 plays away from being 2-0. So, it really is. That's what sucks about it all. But I love the mentality he has, and he just gets me fired up each time about it.
And you know what? Someone did tell me before, not my words, but they did think that Nick Moore's a silver fox. And I'm like, well, he's like 33, but because of the hair, they're going silver fox. Hey, he's a good-looking dude. He's a good kid. Good-looking dude.
Fantastic kid.
If you guys are new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. We do this live every Monday and Thursday. We have our pregame show on Sunday as well, be 4 hours prior to kickoff. That's right. 4:25 games, so we'll be going live around 12 p.m., and we're going to continue with some giveaway opportunities we want you guys to be a part of, so tune in with us. Also, you guys can be a member of the Ryan Ripken Show and the channel. That was Cube. Sorry, he's a member for 5 months. Cube, appreciate you. We got a new member, Zach.
Woo, Josiah. Appreciate you.
I heard it said long-time listener, first-time watcher, I think was the phrase right in there. But, hey, we appreciate you. And how we've made this product better is from our community and subscribers here. It goes back into the studio here, which we appreciate. Thank you guys for all of the help. Couldn't do it without you. You can click join, and also for some interviews that we're going to drop, our Holy Shirts and Pants members, you're going to be getting those before it's released to the public, essentially. So where do I want to go? Why don't we go back into Maryland, finish with Craig Kimbrel, and get into football? But while we're going back into Maryland, let's take a ride, Zach, on our Adams Jeep of Maryland. You know what? I'm feeling
ride the
pretty
Jeep.
good. Feeling pretty good. Throw the glass on, but don't drive with your. They don't have the hands-free cars yet. So you got to be careful.
you do have to. You
can't
do
put your
still
hands
have,
up. Put your hands up.
You've got to pump it up. Don't you know? Pump it up.
You got to pump it up. Oh, love it. And we got to pump up Adams Jeep of Maryland up in Aberdeen, right down the street from the Ironbirds, official sponsor of the Ryan Ripken Show and our only car sponsor of the Ryan Ripken Show. They treat us so well. And, hey, they want to treat you well. If you go up there and buy a used Jeep up there at Adams Jeep of Maryland and you use the phrase Rocco sucks, or we love the Ryan Ripken Show, and you tell Chuck and Matt that, they're going to give you a gas card up to $1,000 with a purchase of a used Jeep. That's it. I mean, $1,000 of gas money. You kidding me? In this economy?
Woo, in this economy.
Would take it. Let's go back into baseball, wrap it up before we get into football here. The Craig Kimbrel conversation. That was one that I know a lot of people wanted to discuss, and a lot of fans were very happy about that he was gone. I put out a video last night, Zach, or yesterday afternoon, late afternoon when the news dropped, that it's just unfortunate, honestly, and a lot of people that are saying, hey, I told you so. And, we saw this coming. Well, let's be honest here. Let's be realistic. The first 3 months, he was pitching like an all-star closer. Okay. He was, he had the opportunity to be an all-star. He wasn't. He was second in saves in the American League, only behind Emmanuel Clase, who is a beast. He's the best closer in baseball.
Not even close.
Right now. Clase is, when Felix is back, he can be in that conversation right there, but it's Clase right now. But then we could see the drop-off. Personally, I think that there was a physical ailment, and then you factor in mentally, you could tell it was night and day. And each outing, it got more painful and painful to watch. And you could tell he wasn't putting it together. And the reason why the Orioles waited so long before making a move, look, they don't have a lot of high leverage guys that they trust. And you saw a guy that was so dominant in moments. So you held out hope that he could find it. But then Brandon Hyde made a comment after the game where Craig had his worst outing, I think, of his career.
Yeah.
That he said we were trying to find a spot for him to get work in. And so when you hear comments like that, to me, one, it said, all right, well, if you're trying to look for a spot, you can't have him in the playoffs. But if you're trying to look for a spot for him to pitch now, then that answer, the writing's on the wall. The experiment then, or not the experiment, then your leash for him is over. And I feel for him, and I know people aren't going to feel for a guy, Zach, that's making $13 million, right? And that's a nice financial security. Hell, I don't know anybody that would be mad about having $13 million. But the thing I do feel for, and it hurts me with this, because I know all the things and the person that Craig Kimbrel is. People love him as a teammate.
Mm-hmm.
He's accountable. Anytime that he gives it up, he's at his locker and he will answer the music. He'll ring the bell and he'll be there to answer the bell, I guess I should say. And I know it hurts him more than anything that he let the team down in his mind and the fans. Like, it hurts him that he didn't do his job.
Yeah.
So I want people to know that it was the right move at this time after everything's happened. Also, they kept him as long as they did because they wanted to see if he could get back on track. But the biggest thing is he's a guy that genuinely wanted to help bring a World Series back to Baltimore and do his part. And it hurts him and disappoints him that he knows he couldn't do that. So I want people to have that perspective on that whole situation. So that's all I got to say about that, about that situation. So that kind of covers for the Orioles coverage. We'll talk a lot more baseball as we get closer. I mean, the Detroit Tigers are hooked. They are hooked. Only a half game out of the wild card, 4.5 behind the Orioles, half game behind the Twins, and they just came off sweeping the Kansas City Royals. So, man, and the Orioles fans are going to see the Tigers here in town on Saturday, which actually brings us to this Saturday. Our friend Stuggies. Let me bring this thing on up here. You guys see this? I know it's a little bit of lighting. There it is. Beautiful. Stuggies, proud sponsor of the Ryan Ripken Show. They are doing a giveaway for this Saturday, and I had the post out on Instagram. You comment and follow us and Stuggies. You're eligible to win. And guess what? I'm sorry if I butchered the name, but Josh Poe, P-A-U-G-H, Pow. Well, guess what, Josh? You are getting 2 tickets to the game on Saturday between the Tigers and the Orioles. And also you're getting 2 free crab mac and cheese dogs to go along with it. Stuggies, honestly, it's like a go-to for me. Death, taxes, I need to go get a Stuggies dog, crab mac and cheese when I'm there. I like a plain dog, but specialty dog, hands down the best one you're going to find. So congratulations, Josh. I'll give you more of the information here soon. And we're going to have more information for other people out there as well. So that's it right there.
Woo!
Pow! Woo! Pow!
Wow. Love that movie.
Love it. Love it. Rob Riggle, man.
Fucking Catalina wine mixer.
Fucking Catalina wine mixer, man. All right, let's jump into some other things around Maryland. Before we get into the NFL, College Park, University of Maryland's having Villanova roll down in to College Park to face the Terps. Terps had a big win, beat UVA 27-13 behind a really tremendous second half. Sloppy first half, close game, but they blew the doors open the second half, took care of business. A game they should take care of in Villanova. But hey, Nova, they're 3-0. And I know that the FBS team, right? But they are doing well, and you can't overlook an opponent. I think we've all fans can understand that. Cannot overlook an opponent, but hopefully the Terps can win their third game, get to 3-1 before they jump fully into conference play in the Big Ten. Now, guys, let's jump into a little bit of the NFL. You heard Nick Moore on here talking about the Ravens and all other things that were happening with Baltimore and how Nick had some colorful moments with in the Rose Bowl. That was fun to look at. But actually, let's start off with this. It was on Good Morning Football. Kyle Brandt was talking about this Ravens-Cowboys matchup and how really this could be potential matchup of the year. Definitely could be game of the year so far in 2024. So let's play that.
Here's,
okay.
I have
there we go.
no Grim Reaper.
There we go. Sorry. My mouse was stuck. Thank you, Zach. I apologize. So it's interesting, right? Because both teams are coming off extremely disappointing results at home. The Ravens had a game they felt like they were in control. 10-point lead slipped away. The Raiders kind of shocked Baltimore in that case. There was no shock at Dallas. I mean, it's shocking maybe the result, but the Saints just took it to them. Just smacked them right in the mouth and didn't look back. The Saints now put up 40-plus points in back-to-back games. You kidding me? Derek Carr, which is funny because he's not throwing a ton of passes, but they're doing a lot. Alvin Kamara had a massive game. Their defense played well. But the biggest thing in this is avoiding that 0-3. And Kyle made a good point where, hey, we don't worry about the teams that are 0-3 because historically speaking, Zach, you get to 0-3, it is hard to make the postseason. Extremely hard to make the postseason. 0-2 is already hard enough. But for Baltimore, they're still in a good spot. Tough start with Kansas City. And the game really came down to the end in both games for Baltimore. When you think about it, down to the last plays. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. Dallas, it is true. Dallas cannot run the football. They ran for 68 last week. They are 25th in the NFL. But Zach, I think the one thing we're monitoring right now for Dallas's offense, and I understand that Dak might heave it, but who is he going to be heaving it to? Because right now, CeeDee Lamb seems a little bit banged up.
Yeah, so CeeDee Lamb missed practice yesterday. It's going to be really interesting. I don't see a way CeeDee doesn't play.
I agree.
Like it just seems like one of those things where we talked about, Kyle just talked about with the magnitude of this game. It's not loser leaves town, but it feels pretty damn close, as close to that as you can get for a week 3 matchup. Yeah. First, unnecessary, like agreed with everything he said. Really unnecessary jab there when he was like, and don't turn it off if the Ravens are up 14. I was like, okay, we all know, but you don't have to say it.
Yeah, thanks for putting that out there. And then starting to put it into the universe that Aubrey's going to break a record and boot it off. And then that you're implying the Ravens are going to go 0-3 and blow the game. We don't need that energy right now in Baltimore.
The last thing we need.
Baltimore does not need that right now, but it should be a great game. And for those that are interested on the betting side, and courtesy of our friends Hollywood Casino up at Charlestown Races in West Virginia, which we also have a tailgate event planned October 27th. Check out the details at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races, but also check it out on Twitter. We'll talk more about it later, but the odds right now, Baltimore Ravens are 1.5-point favorites going to Dallas. So obviously, but it's kind of like a pick 'em, right? I mean, right now the Ravens are minus 110, Cowboys minus 106. Over and under set at 47.5. It just feels like, Zach, we talked about, it feels like a complete team that Baltimore has. It feels like that they are more complete than the Cowboys, but you got to go play the game. You got to go out there and figure it out. Dallas moved the ball okay last week, but had some turnovers. Their defense couldn't stop anything. They really contained Micah Parsons, and they had some explosive plays, multiple explosive plays. That's something that Baltimore not necessarily has done on offense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Raheed Shaheed had the big touchdown. Kamara had the long screen touchdown as well. So for Baltimore, it's, you can hit big plays against Dallas, but can that be your MO for this game, right? Or is it going to be wearing them down, which we know they're going to keep handing the ball off to Derrick Henry? But that's kind of what I'm looking for, Zach. Do you have anything specifically? And we'll dive into more on Sunday, but anything else you heard from Kyle Brandt that brought some attention to you?
No, I think I completely agree with him. This game screams game of the year just by the magnitude of the week 3 game. Like we said, this is as close to loser leaves town as you can get in week 3. 2 desperate teams trying to get back on track. And it's 2 struggling defenses. You know, we talked about the Ravens have allowed the most passing yards. The Cowboys have the worst run defense. Plays into the strengths of the other team. And this is very much a game. One, I love what you said, by stock and Derrick Henry. Love having Derrick Henry on my fantasy team right now because it seems like this could be a big game for him. But it's gonna be a fun one. Gonna be stressful. I've already prepared for that, but it'll be a fun one.
Yeah, it should be a great game. And I know for a lot of Ravens fans, great might be very stressful, but that's also just how the cookie crumbles, man. You got to deal with it. That's a part of the game. And Dallas is a team that they have their own aspirations. Yeah, they haven't gotten back to a Super Bowl in decades, plural, decades. I mean, let alone an AFC or a conference championship game. But they do have a very solid squad, and it helps when you have playmakers on the defensive side, which they have. And then CeeDee Lamb, obviously one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. We saw what Devontae Adams did last week. Can you try to contain him and make someone else beat you for Baltimore? We'll dive more into that game on Sunday as we get closer and dive more into all of that as we go. Interesting, I did see this comment from Mel Kiper saying too high safety look should be outlawed. You know, I don't know specifically if it's not going to happen.
No,
it's just not. But I get it. I mean, it's how they're trying to defend has changed, and that's part of evolution of every sport.
Good. We listen. I am so happy that people are talking like we want to see points. We want to see points. Obviously, you talk about betting. That makes people want to see yards. They want to see points. Like, oh, we bet on this guy to do this, so I want to see all the points in the world. Fantasy football, as many points as possible. The defense has been at such a disadvantage just over and over again. Every other year, there's a new rule that is out there to hurt the defense. Now we're taking away schemes. You can't play too high. Like, make the quarterback beat you underneath. We went from a league where, for a few years, it was just deep ball after deep ball, getting above guys because you knew you might get pass interference. It was a big player pass interference. That was pretty much what happened. Now guys are over there protecting from it, saying you have to beat us underneath. It's football. There something's going to happen. The tide's going to shift. Like it does it. I think Spencer Schultz tweeted this out. So shout out him. It's the same thing that happens all the time. The offense gets an advantage, develops some sort of new schemes, some new type of way. They get an advantage for 2 to 3 years. The defense adjusts, gets the advantage for a year or so. Offense adjusts. It's just all part of the natural game.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? I like seeing some defense. I like seeing some struggles. I mean, that's what we grew up on, by the way, was just the Ravens defense just being vaunted and just wreaking havoc. Now, obviously the rules have changed. You can't make those types of hits. You got to play the game a little bit differently. Makes it harder to defend as it is with the new rules, but it is the context there, right? So be good to see moving forward. But one thing we want to talk about with game plan, that was the other thing we wanted to touch on today, was for the Ravens Cowboys. We'll give you more of an insight, but one thing that we want to see is how the Ravens are going to react to facing now a very, very tough defensive line from the Cowboys, specifically pass rush. And that's been kind of a problem for Baltimore the last 2 weeks. You heard Nick Moore mention about Christian Wilkins, Max Crosby, Chris Jones, and now you got Micah Parsons on deck this week. Dan Orlovsky gave some analysis on what the Ravens have struggled with the elite pass rushers and how they should plan to attack that in week 3 and beyond. So let's play that, Zach.
What is your biggest concern about the Ravens right now?
They're not handling people at the line of scrimmage the appropriate way. They allowed Max Crosby to, I think, win AFC Defensive Player of the Week. And if they treat Micah Parsons the way that they did Max Crosby, they're going to lose this football game as well. Max Crosby lined up at the right number 1. Baltimore, you're not going to be able to gap scheme towards Micah Parsons. He's going to do that same stuff, understanding it's Derrick Henry in the backfield. He's going to get blown up. You can't pull people towards Micah Parsons. Second of all, you can't down block one-on-one versus these elite edge guys. Micah's going to do the same thing. Max just gets upfield, blows up the play, 5-yard loss. Again, Derrick Henry in the backfield. Now watch what Max does. This little shrink down. Again, as the motion, they're trying to one block Max Crosby with Isaiah Likely. You're not going to be able to do that to Micah Parsons. So I think this is a little bit attached to when Derrick Henry is in the backfield on 1st and 2nd downs, and he is in what we call like the dot position or the home, meaning directly lined up behind the quarterback in the gun in the pistol or underneath. They're likely to run the football there. Micah Parsons is going to have tells. They got to handle and have a plan for those elite edge guys in the pass and the run game much better.
So, and it's a good point, right? It further validates what we've talked about, Zach. For Baltimore, the glaring concern for people, analysts, fans, the offensive line play specifically, and being able to give Lamar enough time to make his reads and do what he can to, if you want to have bigger plays down the field. But for your run game, trying to be a little bit more unpredictable. Now, the Ravens did pick up the run game in the second half of last week's game. You saw Derrick get going, but I hear what they're saying, Zach. That is the concern. But I think it's also with the evolution and gelling. I know you didn't agree with Dan earlier when talking about that the Ravens are being too predictable. You still stand pat with that?
Yeah, I do. I think it's just because of how early it is in the season, because we saw from week 1 to week 2 the change of when week 1, without a doubt, they were predictable. They only ran the ball with Justice Hill once. They got him a little bit more involved. They got Derrick Henry more involved in the pass game this past game. So I would like to see a step forward, continue, especially with play action. But the biggest thing that I agree with Dan here is he hit the nail right on the head. If the Baltimore Ravens treat Micah Parsons the way they did Max Crosby, they will be walking out of Dallas 0-3. And I don't think it's a question. If they allow Micah Parsons to go in there and wreck the game like they did Max Crosby, and just you're always working behind on the sticks, you always have pressure in the backfield, it's going to be a long day, especially with how that offense for Dallas is playing, what we know they're capable of. If you get into a shootout with Dallas and you're allowing Micah Parsons to wreak havoc, it's going to be a long day for Baltimore.
Well, it will be a long day. And for a guy, especially like Micah Parsons, where there are moments, and I shouldn't say this. It's not that I think that Micah's less of a player than the other guys. But with Micah, there are certain ways that you can even contain him a little bit more than Chris Jones and Max Crosby or Wilkins, just because of how they're built up. Like Wilkins and Jones are very good against the run too, right? And Max Crosby is also very aggressive and can wreak havoc. Micah Parsons, his true athleticism with rushing the passer is unbelievable. He's probably the best pass rusher overall. Max Crosby might just be the freak that just like, how do you keep going, Energizer Bunny? And then there's Chris Jones that just is just so damn good. But yeah, you're going to have to be very calculated because he is a game wrecker at the end of the day. And the Ravens have had games wrecked or had big moments in the first 2 games. The sack fumble from Lamar Jackson by Chris Jones in game 1, Max Crosby's big sack when Baltimore got the ball back, 1st and 10, Crosby gets the sack, 2nd and 19. Ravens then that drive stalls. We know what happens next. The Raiders get the ball back after a shanked punt, and they go down, kick a field goal, and the Ravens lose. So you got to find ways. So that's one thing, and one way we'll dive way more into all the football talk down the road. We have 2 things, and we'll get on out of here just for time restraints. But one of those things, obviously, Zach, it's our thing, courtesy of Deep Eddie. Who was crushing it this past week, Zach?
So week 1, we talked about who was crushing it, and we stayed in Baltimore with Isaiah Likely. Had an incredible week 1 against the Kansas City Chiefs. So week 2, I said, you know what, let's switch it up a little bit, but we are going to keep it related to the Ravens. So our guy for crushing it, week 2, we're going J.K. Dobbins, the former Baltimore Ravens, 17 carries, 131 yards, 1 touchdown. People all offseason were talking about, can J.K. Dobbins return to form? What does J.K. have left in the tank? I'll tell you one thing. He has answered every single question about if he could return from injury. And the perfect example we're going to see right here. Yes, it's against the Panthers, but J.K. Dobbins, 1. Let's look at the sprint speed. We're rewinding this back from right here. I mean, down the sideline. This is the J.K. Dobbins that we knew and loved early in the career. And scoop by you and then backflip or front flip into the end zone. One more time. Look at, oh my goodness, 25. What are we doing here? J.K. says, I'm going to cut back. Oh, nope. And then little flipper Rooney into the end zone to end it. J.K. Dobbins could not be happier for the guy. Talk about a guy that just had unfortunate injury after injury after injury, comes back, has a great week 1, follows it up with an even better week 2. And because of that, I guess we can say, J.K. Dobbins, you are crushing it.
And truly, it's been awesome to see for him. Back-to-back games, over 130 rush yards so far, and a touchdown each game to go along with it. I wish it worked out more here in Baltimore. I understand you had to make a decision to let him go because it just wasn't working out, but he got a fresh start. He's with a familiar face in Greg Roman, and I'll tell you what, through 2 games, he has looked pretty damn good, and I really hope the best, and hope the best for him this weekend as they face off against the Steelers. Maybe he can help out his former team in Baltimore in helping to stop Pittsburgh's undefeated start to the season. We'll dive way more into the weekend games here and go around the AFC North as we go to our Sunday show. Make sure you're tuning in on Sunday, 12 p.m. We're probably going to tip it off and join us as we got a lot of things with Gridiron Golf here behind me on the right, or if we can pull that up there and whammy.
Boom.
Zach and I had our little putt off. We had our little game, but we have some other guys that were a part of the Gridiron Golf experience, maybe some other Orioles that were able to participate and partake. A lot more in Gridiron Golf. It's the game that's going to be taking over the tailgating lots this year. Quite frankly, you can play it with anyone, anywhere. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to be just housing some Deep Eddy Orange crushes. You can just go out there and any age can go and play and putt. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, we get competitive in here.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that kind of wraps it up for today, except, Zach, who you got tonight? Jets and Patriots. Currently, the line is sitting at 6.5 in favor of the Jets.
I'm going to take the Patriots.
To cover or outright?
I cover for sure. I'm going to take them outright, though. I think biggest reason is Christian Gonzalez absolutely shuts down Garrett Wilson. I think there's something about Christian Gonzalez that I'm enamored with right now. I think he takes out the best player for the Jets. Then we've seen this Patriots team. They're feisty. Talk about a feisty group. I think they have what it takes So I'm going to take the Patriots because I love what Mayo is doing there. I love the culture they're setting. I think things are still a little weird in New York. So I'm going to say massive win for Mayo and the boys.
Yeah, I talk about sending a fan base into panic and frenzy. If the Jets now having Aaron Rodgers healthy, I know that they've had some issues and Mosley's going to be out. It's still a really good team. You lose at home to the Patriots. Everybody panic. It's like that old SpongeBob episode where he forgot his name and he's going into his mind to remember what's his name. What's his name?
Yeah.
Oh my God, we forgot his name. That level of panic, it's a problem. That's what's going to happen for the Jets. But I'm taking the Jets, Jets tonight. I think that they should win by more than 6.5, but I'm scared about that line, to be honest, because it's a division game, because it's a rivalry, because it's a short week. For all those reasons, I get scared, but I do think that the Jets should win. And if they don't win, that panic meter is going to be at about an 11 or 12. So,
and also, don't the Jets just no matter who their quarterback is, they just can't beat the Patriots? Like, I feel like that's just one of those, like, you know how the AFC East is just one continuous circle. Like the Patriots can never beat the Dolphins. Dolphins can never beat the Bills. Bills can't beat the Jets. Jets can't beat the Patriots. That's just like the circle of life in the AFC East. So I'm going to stick with that.
Well, we'll find out tonight, and we'll put out some other. I know you got some bets going there, but we got to get out for today. And again, it's my scheduling, but we'll be back on Sunday, 12 p.m. Join us here for our kickoff special, pregame special, a lot of giveaways. We'll have more of a full house as well. And then we'll probably be watching these games as we're doing the pregame show. It'll be a lot of fun. Oh, yeah. You know what, Zach? Let's cue the music. Let's do it.
The music is cued.
It's cued.
Yeah.
I
wonder if they can hear
it.
Bow.
Bow. Hey, well, everyone here at the Ryan Ripken Show, we appreciate you all for joining us on this early Thursday morning edition. But hey, have a day, have a night, have a great stinking weekend. We'll see you on Sunday. And hopefully by that time, the Orioles are back on track and Baltimore Ravens are getting ready to get back to 1-2. Talk to you soon.
Bow, 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 bow.